Jon Jones had a bunch of easy fights. They were world title fights and they were number one guys, but they were easy. There were guys that didn't belong. There was guys like Sonnen. There was guys like Belfort. There was guys like Reyes. There was guys like Alves. Thiago Santos, rather. And Jon was losing minutes. And in some of those fights, he was even losing rounds. It was very clear that it wasn't the same guy that you'd seen that set records and became the youngest champion ever at 23 years old. And Jon just listened to it. He just took it. He still had the belt. He still had the ranking. He still had the main event spot. He still had the name Jon Jones. And he just took it. Pow, pow. People saying, oh, you lost this one, or this judge had it against you, or this guy stopped your takedown. Jon just took it. And finally, Jon responded, and he wasn't pissed off. Jon get hot fast. He wasn't pissed off. I remember this. This was years ago. This was before Jon took the 3-year break to go to heavyweight, and that was a year ago. And Jon said, I know you think it's easy. I know it looks easy. I know you think to defend this belt 6 times against people like Sonnen and Belfort, Santos, Reyes. I know you think that is easy. 5-round contest, losing rounds, having to come back in the 5th while out partying anytime that you wanted to. I know you think it's easy, but if it is, you go do it. You go do it. If I'm the guy that's scared to fight Francis, if I'm the guy, put a contract in front of both of us, and let's just see which one of us signs it. This is Jon. This is Jon talking years ago. He's very calm. He was very measured. Said, hey, if I'm scared to fight Pavlich, would you mind asking Dana that question? Because I've already agreed to fight Pavlich. If Stipe doesn't show up, Pavlich is the backup. I've already agreed to him. Even though everyone wants to say that I didn't and that I won't. Now you have the talk of Aspinall. And you have the top of Stipe. But when you look at what happened to Sergey Pavlich over the weekend, it does begin, right? If you're fair, if you're not fair and objective, I got nothing for you here. You just keep listening to my voice or move on to something else. But if you are fair and objective, then you admit that when Sergey was the young, stoic-looking, 29-1, 6 first-round knockout in a row Russian, headed to Madison Square Garden, you admit that in November of the previous year, you thought he would stop Jon. And you admit that you posted that somewhere, or you mentioned that to a friend or a coworker. And now, and it's not as though Pavlich is bad. Pavlich is excellent. Pavlich is not fighting poorly. It's a very difficult division. It's the whole sport, which was largely Jon's point. That whether you want to say the Belforts and the Sonnen and the Santos and the Reyes, if you want to say those weren't the premier, then you go do it. Or show me somebody else that can do it. You think defending and staying on top and being the one that everyone watches. Everyone know about the spinning elbow. They know about the teep. They know about the leg kick. They didn't know about it, but they do now because they've been watching me. Everyone knows I can still go out there and I can still beat you. You go do it. And I remember when Jon said, I remember sitting back and going, God damn it. That's hard to argue against. And here we are years later. A different division champion. The biggest fight that he's had in 4 years is against Islam Makhachev for the preference of the rankings committee, which comes out every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Islam Makhachev has fought back and stood up to Jon Jones more than any heavyweight walking the planet. Let that sink in. And meanwhile, You're 29-1, 6 first-round knockout, stoic, blonde-headed Russian is on a 2-fight skid. And it sure does make you rethink about what Jon said. Like, in all fairness, and I don't want any of this to sound against Pavlich. Boy, I hope those aren't my words. I would not kick a guy when he's down. But I do share for you. When the narrative was going around our community on how Sergey's going to beat him, how Sergey's going to be one, how Jon Jones is going to fight Stipe, he's going to get out of the way. It was never about Tom Aspinall. It wasn't even about Stipe, who he was signed with. It was 100% about Pavlich. That's the truth. And you're part of that. But you couldn't tell me if Sergey Pavlich, you couldn't tell me right now if he's orthodox or southpaw. He fought 2 days ago and you watched it. You're not positive. You wouldn't bet your house on it. You couldn't tell me of those 6 first-round knockouts if he did it with his right hand or his left hand. If it was a TKO from the ground or if he knocked him out with a head kick. You might wager a little bit thinking, but you don't really know, do you? But do you see the difference? You know Jon Jones is going to push you in the fence and he's going to spin and elbow you. You know he's going to come out and he's going to kick you in the oblique. You know he doesn't shoot a double, he shoots a single and switches to a double. Like, you know everything he's going to do. You don't know that about Pavlich. You don't know that about the opponent. Advantage opponent. Element of surprise. And they still can't get what he's got, which is the world championship. And they still can't get the fight for the world championship. And they still can't defend it. And they still can't go undefeated for all of those years. It's one of those spots. Like, to end the debate on GOAT would seemingly be impossible. That's why the dick that coined it in the first place did it, to create controversy. We don't have a ranking system, just so you understand. We don't have a ranking system so we can figure out who can fight who. That's pretend. We have a ranking system because when people judge people, you're guaranteed that it will not be fair. There is nothing more unfair than people judging people. Go to rodeo, go watch gymnastics sometimes, go watch diving, anything where people are being judged by other people. I tell you that, he's still number one. And there is actually a way to end that debate. There is. Jon Jones is the youngest champion ever. If he can bookend that, if he can be, he's got a lot of years left, right? Thanks to Randy Couture, but the years go by pretty fast. Just if, it's an if. If he can bookend it, you now don't have the discussion. You right now do. And maybe that's because you're a hater of Jon, or maybe that's because you're a supporter of St. Pierre. But if he bookended it, you got a big problem. It's much like I would argue that with Alex Pereira. If he found a way to get himself a heavyweight belt, it wouldn't even matter if it's an interim. If he became the first three-time champion, we would end. We wouldn't have the discussion of GOAT. It would be that person. And I'll admit, I was with you. I thought Sergey was next. I thought he was too big, too young, too powerful. I thought the fights against Reyes and Santos were closer than they should have been. I agree. But I don't think that as strongly as I think that Jon's side is correct, which if it's easy, you go do it. And nobody else has. And when you watch Sergey go down, it's not a commentary on Sergey. It's not even a commentary on Volkov. It's a commentary on just how good is Jon Jones.